Go. Okay, welcome back to Nick Lenz's Doctor Who Review, episode 110. We're discussing Series 4 and the final series that featured David Tennant as Doctor. Of course, yes, he had a few specials after this, but this is the last series for him. He said the reason why, I've heard the reason why he left, because it felt it was time. He felt 3 series was enough, so that's the reason why he decided to leave. After only 3 series. Yep, that's what he said. I heard that in a video that he put out. That was pretty much the reason why that he decided to do that. Yeah, and plus also he wanted to explore more options. I think after Series 4 wrapped up, he basically did a play, and that's the reason why the specials took a little bit longer than the specials we had after Matt Smith, who succeeded him as a Doctor. Oh, and a little fun fact about David Tennant. He is actually the first person who actually was a fan of the Doctor to become a Doctor. He's not the first person to watch. No. The last Doctor who actually did watch the Doctor Who before becoming a Doctor was Peter Davidson. We'll discuss it later. So, in this final series for David Tennant. So, in the very first one we're discussing here is Voyage of the Damned. The 4th Christmas special. Yep, the 4th one. Now, they did have one for the specials, which we'll discuss next time. This is called Voyage of the Damned. Because this is also a concept that will be revisited during the specials. What concept is that? The one-shot companions. One who is a companion for the Doctor for one story, and then they move on. Yes, this is the first story to experiment with this, because of course this is going to be his last series coming up. That's the reason why they did this. Basically, I think his name is Astra, I think her name is. She's basically like a housekeeper on board this spaceship known as the Titanic, which is shaped like Titanic, and has evolved some servants become robots, and in fact the owner of the vessel was actually on board. It's like this episode was basically making so many homages to the real life Titanic, even looking like the damn thing in frickin' space. We even had it where, get this, the thing was basically at one point damaged, so it was going to crash into London. And by the way, this particular episode did play a small role in the third to last episode of the series. We'll get to that. So the Doctor does able to get the ship off, make sure it doesn't crash, which it's a really good standalone Christmas. It's only like an hour long, but it's fantastic. Sadly put, Astra died, and this becomes something that would haunt the Doctor. She actually became the first companion to die in New Who. Even if she was a one-shot companion, she is the first one to die. Those of you curious, who was the last official companion to die on television? The last one was Astric during 5th Doctor's run. Yep, he was the last official one. Perry didn't die. She actually was able to survive. I'll discuss her time a little later. But an excellent Christmas special. So far, of the 3 Christmas... Actually, this was the 3rd Christmas special. The 3 Christmas specials I've mentioned so far, I'm talking about here, they've all been really good. None of them are bad. None whatsoever. Yeah, basically Doctor Who really hits the park when it comes to the Christmas specials. Now, each episode for this particular one is quite interesting. In the case of the first official episode of Series 4, Partners in Crime, this is a return of Donna Noble and her. Basically, this also establishes a series of coincidences of why Donna Noble was chosen to be this companion. And this all has to do with Rose Tyler. Yes, believe it or not, this all deals with Rose Tyler, because they want to basically do it together. Basically, these two are like good friends who just hang out with each other a lot of the series. And she ends up just traveling with the Doctor for a while. The story of this one, she's a temp at a building. It just happens when the Doctor's like, "Oh, it's you again!" It's like, really? Yeah, and they kind of run into each other. Eventually, that She doesn't come with him per se on his journey throughout this whole series. Yeah, Donna Lumber herself will be involved in this one series, and then she comes back for the 2-parter and the time, and then she appears one more time in the 6th anniversary specials. And that's all we get for Donna Noble, played by the awesome Catherine Tate, who's currently 55 right now. So, that's most of that's for the first episode. It's there for is to bring her in, special companion. Fires of Pompeii. This is her first time in the past. This episode is noteworthy because this episode features a character played by future 12th Doctor actor Peter Capaldi. Yes, because of the events of this very episode, Fires of Pompeii, that's the reason why, because it was later on during 12th Doctor is one of the reason of basically the reasoning. Well, I'll get to that. Basically, this one episode plays a role in 12th Doctor's run. This one single episode, and apparently the Mount Vesuvius in the fictionalized version of this was caused because some aliens wanted to leave the planet, so they blew up Mount Vesuvius. They couldn't exactly prevent the all depths, but Don convinced them, can we just save one family? Like, okay, so they go back to them and they were hanging out with the whole episode, which happened to be Peter Capaldi's family, and they took him out, and that technically didn't break any rules there. I mean, they didn't print Mount Vesuvius blowing up. It was going to blow up that day. So, but it definitely was a good episode, but like I said, it plays a role in what Steve Moffat's doing for 12th Doctor. Next up, we have Planet of the Ood, which was the return of the Ood for this one. Yeah, where they're involved with the story there. Next comes a 2-parter. Get this. Well, this is also something that I'll read the episode in a minute, basically, for this 2-parter, because basically, in this 2-part, we see return to Martha Jones. First time since last Time Lords, though she did also make a brief appearance at the start of Time Crash. The stock footage. So, the Doctor, and there's also this weird, like, experimental company involving these special cars in this 2-parter, and they have this, like, very rich benefactor who's also has his own school. So, then, of course, the Doctor's surrounded by soldiers when he arrives in one area, except these are not, like, UK official soldiers. Oh, no. This is UNIT. And this is the first time ever in this 2-parter that the unit does play a role in a Doctor Who episode in Modern Who. When the 2 times they appeared for this, they had a very minor role. They didn't do much anything at all. They were just there. First appearing in the 2-parter debut in the Celine, and they briefly appeared in Christmas Invasion. After that was nothing. This is the return of return of this group, and also this is also the first time we debut their new, what the acronym stands for. Because at this point, I think people were suspecting that maybe the real life United Nations had a similar organization to this, but they later sued BBC over the name United Nations Task Force. So with this one, the name officially changed to Unified Intelligence Task Force, and it made the name forward, but technically still same initials, UNIT, except basically the UN name book does not stand for United Nations, just stands for Unified. That's kind of how it is. So this also basically where, okay, so then of course then the guy in charge beams of the spaceship over the planet, and it turns out his benefactors are people clad in blue armor who are heads shaped like potatoes. It's the Centaurans! First time appearing in Doctor Who since, well, unofficially since Fix with Centaurans, but officially, first time since the 2 Doctors. Yes, because on screen, Sylvester McCoy never encountered the Centaurans throughout his 3 years. I don't know if there's any plans to feature him at all in his entire run. I know Paul McGann never took him on, and I know Frank Eccleston never did. Well, not officially, of course. So, and there's more Centaurans, not like one or two. This is probably the first time we have a group of Centaurans since Invasion of Time. And these are very competent, very much honor-bound warriors. Basically kind of going to be basically Doctor Who's version of the Klingons. That's kind of what basically the writer of this two-parter was doing. Yes. Oh, and if you're really curious though, who wrote this two-parter? Helen Renner. Yep. Oh yeah, probably it was one of these slaves, but basically, the Ood do debut. They believe they made a debut in the previous season show. Yes, it was previous season. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and this is basically the first Monica Jones calls in the Doctor for a story. So then Unit raids a factory, and we have all these workers, and Donna Noble, being the temp that she is, looks to the office. Nothing wrong with her doing that. And basically comes across a book that's meant for sick days. She opens it up. No sick days were ever taken at this factory. Which, of course, Martha and the guy in charge unit basically suspect that. Also, they do mention that the Doctor is still technically the unit's scientific advisor. He never officially resigned. Well, the resignation was never accepted. Also, when they found, oh yeah, the Centaurans, so their unit is not familiar with the Centaurans because in their fought them in the classic show. This is also the first mention of 70s or 80s stuff. Yes, because of course, basically the writer of this two-parter was very confused exactly when the unit stories really took place during Classic Who. They thought 70s or 80s, despite the fact they aired in the 70s, with the exception of the first episode, which was Invasion. Yes, and this also was the return to the mentioning of the Rutons, an alien species who appeared for one Doctor Who story who have never appeared in current Who. And that story being the Horror Fang Rock. Yes, a Tom Baker story. And like, the Doctor's like, oh yeah, my money's on the Rutons. Yeah, I love this exchange where Una is basically bewildered by the Centaurans, but they do take him seriously. And then this two-parter ends with basically the organization behind these cards, Emos, activating their special ability. Of course, this is an anti-pollution two-parter, because of course these things unleash gas across the frickin' planet. So, the counter gas in one area, Unit has the Valiant come down. First time it's been seen since last the Time Lords, which was last time that Martha appeared. And I was like, yes, the Valiant. Sad we're going to talk about it when it comes to the last part of this one. So, then of course we had this awesome moment. We have Unit fighting the Centaurans, and he had one guy basically, I think it's the guy in charge. He was like, "You turn around so I can face you," because of course the Centaurans do not like facing their enemies with the back toward. They hate that, and apparently the Doctor told him that. So he turns around and he gets shot in the head. Because also, by the way, the guy smiles because he knows for a fact he's gonna be shot. Which, this episode 9, this two-parter was awesome. Yes, it was amazing. Reestablished the Centaurans in Modern Who. And this gets followed up in Saturday Adventures, where one of the Centaurans for this particular fleet is, I kid you not, appears in 4 episodes of Saturday Adventures Season 1. Which this one Centauran later gets dumped in a black hole. Or at least some kind of wormhole. Of course, the other two-parter also involved the return of the Brigadier. Which, I may talk about Saturday Adventures at one point, because that's an excellent show. But, gotta love this two-parter. I love the new look for the Centaurans. At least these suits look like they're freaking comfortable to wear compared to what it in the classic show. Like, of all, like, something like, really, the Centaurans? An alien species only appeared, like, officially, like, a few times in Classic Who. Like, they appeared in Time Warrior, the Centauran Experiment, Invasion of Time, the Two Doctors, and the Fixed Centauran. They appeared roughly 5 times. The fiction is more like a comedy show, but it's somehow canon, per se. But then, of course, Martha's accidentally left on board a TARDIS, and they go to a planet which leads into the Doctor's daughter. So immediately on the planet, the Doctor is DNA scanned, and it creates a girl. Jenny! Who is an actual Doctor's daughter, believe it or not. This actress is the daughter of Peter Davidson, the 5th Doctor. And it's because of this episode, and this is quite interesting, her real name is Georgia Moffat, and she is an actress, by the way, who's currently 40, and David Tennant is, I think he's 50 now. $54. Yeah. And of course, basically, David Tennant got a little bit of flack in the public for, oh yeah, dating the character's daughter, even though in real life these two are not related. But then, of course, these two got married, and they had 5 kids, plus an initial kid from a previous relationship. So that means David Tennant made Peter Davidson a 5-time grandfather. Yes. Which I'm sure for a fact he actually is a grandchild spoil. I'm sure he is. But that's the most noteworthy thing about this one. But it's all about creating clones. But it's an excellent standalone episode. And of course, Martha has returned by the end of the story. Unicorn and the Wasp. This one involves... It's basically a story where the Doctor and Donna meet Agatha Christie, which plays a little bit on real life history. Which are that there's two-parter. It's two-part of the standalone episode. Well, apparently she briefly suffered amnesia, and this also set up something that's mentioned in the penultimate episode of the season. The bees are disappearing. Yes. Which, it's a good episode. I really enjoy the level of Agatha Christie mystery, having actors play Agatha Christie. I know she's featured in this one. And she's played by an actress named Felena Walger, which this one aired in 2008. She was 39 when this aired. Yeah, and she played... this is the only thing she did for a Doctor Who was played for this one episode, which... Gotta love this episode. And then the next two-parter, which is written by Stephen Moffat, and there's a reason why. Because you have the Doctor and Donna arriving at this planet, which has this big, humongous library, which apparently came from this mysterious forest. And then they're welcomed by, when they get inside, they come across basically some people wearing astronaut suits, one led by a very beautiful woman, who apparently knows the Doctor. This is River's Song. This is her debut appearance in the two-parter known Silence the Library, Forwards the Dead. Yes, River's Song, played by the awesome Alex Kingston, who at the time of his debut, because currently she's 62 years old. So, let's see. This aired in 2008, which means she was 45 years old. It's almost like some people may think because she was in her 40s, that she looked really good for her 40s, that maybe she was going to be like this version of, I think it was the Ronnie, given the fact the actress. Yeah, by the way, the aliens are always Vision Narita, which they appear in stuff after this, but nothing on screen per se. Yeah, but of course, Donna, of course, River debuts Shaw for a sonic screwdriver. She whispers Doctor's ear his real name, which she also, oh yeah, I'm also your wife, and apparently he's dead. Apparently, by the time they get married, this is Stephen Moffat setting up the 11 Doctors run with this two-parter, because a lot of that run was basically developing River Song. Yes, seriously, it's mysterious River Song, which he does an amazing job in this two-parter. And Sally Put, the character, dies. Yep, sacrificing himself to save the Doctor, and the Doctor does something in this two-parter. By the way, I think it's revealed in this two-parter. Actually, I revealed in the next one where something related to the lights. But the Doctor does something he only does in this two-parter. He never does it after this. He opens the doors by snapping his fingers, and it's never done again. But don't deny, excellent two-parter. Next up is basically where it's a companion light episode. Russ Stevens returns for this because this is the last 4 episodes of the series, where it's basically Donna's here, but she plays a minor role. It's like a Resort Town episode. Really interesting one per se, but probably the weakest episode of the whole season. Not terrible. And then we come to Turn Left, where Donna enters an alternate reality of what if she turned left instead of turning right. And in this time period, apparently that the Titanic did crash in London, and all the stuff that was going to happen because the Doctor died during Christmas invasion. Yeah. And also, Donna meets Rose Tyler. She's another recurring plot thread this whole season, because it's all building the return of Rose Tyler. Now, the reason why she didn't appear very much in this series was because she had her own separate show at this point. This is probably between days of shooting of that particular series. I think it was called Secrets of a Call Girl, I think it was. Yes. Where, apparently between appearances, Rose Tyler had... not Rose Tyler. Basically, Billie Piper had lost weight. Because if you watch her during her Army of... Basically, during the two-parter Army of Ghosts and Doomsday, it looked like she put on a little bit of weight. And then by this point, she apparently dropped that weight, become much more slimmer. I'm not sure, maybe it's something going on with her life. Maybe she was pregnant. I have no idea. But she did look like she was a bit chubby. And maybe Davis didn't want her near her contract at that point. Possibly, I'm not really sure. But that's what I could tell about her. Everybody else basically was physically from the show, but she was a bit chunky. Donna was like that too, but not to the point basically became a hurdle to her character. But she was funny. Yes. Yeah. But this particular episode led into the amazing 2-part finale. Stolen Earth, Journey's End. Where the Doctor Donna basically racing back to Earth. Like, oh, everything's fine. I mentioned about Rose Tyler, and then they get back in TARDIS, look around, and then the Earth disappears. The moon is still there, but where is the planet? So, then the Doctor comes something really ingenious. I need to take you to the Shadow Proclamation. They're kind of a shadow organization, which they kind of, and of course we see Return of the Jadoon, first time seeing him since the start of the previous series, where apparently he doesn't know speaking of, Time Lords, and they also mention about like all these missing planets, 28 planets, and then he figures, oh, I know exactly where they are. So then basically, like, Dr. Donna proceed to go back in TARDIS, and they kind of nearly break the TARDIS trying to figure out what the heck is going on here. Meanwhile, on Earth, first we see the inner workings of Torchwood. Well, Torchwood 2. Except there's only just Captain Harkness, Gwen, and one air character. You see, for the previous 2 series, this was a 5-person show. Because you had these 3 plus 2 other characters. What happened to these 2 characters? They died at the end of Series 2. Why? Not sure why. Unlike in the case of Series 1, where the ending of that led into Utopia, now the case is when it's like, oh yeah, they wake up, and unless you watch Series 2, you probably are confused on what happened to the rest of the Torchwood cast. Great to see him in Doctor Who, And then we see Sarah Jane Smith's house with her adopted son, Luke. And say, Mr. Smith, I need you. Mr. Smith is basically a talking computer, which plays a role in her show. And then she notices, like, oh crap, the earth has been moved. And like, oh, like this, there's this message sent out by these thousands of spaceships orbiting the planet, where they say one word: exterminate, exterminate. Yep, it's a fucking Daleks are back. You're thinking, how the heck are they back? Well, there's this shadowy figure who's responsible. Classic Doctor Who fans knew exactly who this was. I did not when I watched this two-parter, because I did eventually watch the Classic Who after this one, but this was pure awesomeness. So then we have the Daleks going all over the planet. Like, at one point we see them destroy a freaking house with a family in it. Like, damn. It's like the Daleks are serious. And there's millions of these damn things. We even see this big German one point. We see Martha, which apparently she's being informed, like, oh yeah, Unit is now at Ultimate Code Red. We're at war with the frickin' Daleks. Yes, Unit's at war with the Daleks for the first time since... If you're curious, when was the last time Unit fought the Daleks? Day of the Dalek was the last time officially they fought Daleks. This is invasion. Yeah. And slowly but surely we figure out who the heck is responsible for bringing back Daleks. Oh, there's Dalek Khan. He's insane. Yeah, they realize that later. So then Jack basically goes meet up with wherever the doctors. We have this thing from the Centaurans, which is this teleportation device, and then she teleports to her mom's place. She knows she's alive, like this mysterious network we have, which of course Rose gets on to. We have Martha, we have Jack, we have Sarah. And then we see the return of Harriet Jones. Yep. Which, of course, then we see also, this is so funny, because Donna's grandfather is like, I voted for her. And then his daughter's like, no, you didn't. that was kind of funny. You're like, Harriet Jones, former Prime Minister. Yep. And apparently this network was set up by her years ago for something like this happening. Rose trying to get this conversation, but she tries but can't get in. Then, of course, it's all switched over to Torchwood. So then, of course, the Daleks find out where Harriet Jones is and kills her. Like, damn. So you bring back this actress who had not been seen at this point for, like, if you're really curious, no one had seen her in 2 years in Doctor Who, and now here she is, saying at this network. And then, of course, then the Daleks start nearly storming Torchwood 2, which, sadly put, they're not the ones who breach the damn thing and destroy it. That'll be happening at the start of Series 3 for the show when the place is blown up by a bomb. Because the events of that story, that story is really good, by the way. So, this is quite interesting. So, then at the end of this two-parter, the Doctor sees Rose. He's about to reunite with her, and then a Dalek shows up, shooting the Doctor, but doesn't kill him. So then, of course, we see Jack, we see Rose, we see Donna, and Sarah Jane, of course, which, of course, everybody have each other. Even Mickey's involved with this, too. And then they're brought to the TARDIS, where it looks like the Doctor is going to regenerate. You're thinking, wait, is Matt Smith right, really? Nope. I guess basically the joke is, fooled you! He used regeneration to heal himself and put the radiant into his severed hand, which plays a role in the ending of this two-part, which is weird to say the least. Yes, and then eventually the TARDIS is transported on board the main Dalek spaceship, along with Martha, and the Doctor, Martha, are kept in this little electric cage. And then we unveil who is responsible for bringing back Daleks in story in this massive scale. Devros! making his first appearance in Doctor Who at this point on screen. Yes, I say on screen, since the Silver Anniversary special back in 1988. So at this point, it's been 20 years. And of course, you got a brand new actor because, for some weird reason, Russell Davies is about being a fan of Doctor Who. Apparently, going to bring him back for some reason. Don't know why. By the way, the actor's name is Julian Bleach. Yes, the guy I played previously was Cher Malloy. And he was very much alive. And I'm thinking, it's only been 20 years. I guess he went with someone new. Not sure why. Yeah, it is quite baffling to say the least. But as for the reason why they brought him back here, well, it was good timing. It probably been a good period of time. They already had a good story with the Daleks at the end of series 1 and 2. They probably received really well. My guess is the reason the Master's not brought back here because it probably was not well received. But it needs something great, big, and grand because David Tennant was leaving. This is his final series. So bring in Devros. And then slowly still going done with their stuff. And Mr. Smith gets basically a couple boost power. And eventually, they eventually build their master plan. What is the master plan of Dalek's fifth story? The reality bomb. Which is going to destroy everything in the universe and leave only the Daleks. And they're all cheering, it's the end of the universe. Yes, seriously, that is the master plan for the Daleks this episode, this two-parter. Killing the entire universe. Yeah, and then of course Donna gets dumped inside a TARDIS, and while Sarah Jane is like, wait, how is he alive? I saw him die. That wasn't Genesis Daleks. And of course, Devros remembers her from that story. He's like, oh, hi, Sarah. How are you? I see you've gotten older. And I'm sure basically if Sarah is Margaret Beck, like, were you always this ugly, Devros? He'd probably laugh it off. Because basically, the thing is, as awesome a character Devros is, I'm sure in show, Sarah does not like this guy at all because the fact that he basically, he created Daleks, okay, but basically the fact this man basically had no morale for people, per se. And she saw him die by being shot by his own Daleks, and yet somehow he remained alive afterwards. It was really weirdly retconned when he was brought back for Destiny of the Daleks. But then the Doctor's hand inside TARDIS was acting up with the regeneration energy. And then it shot into Donna, making her sort of Dr. Donna. And then the hand turns into the Meta-Crisis Doctor, a half-human Time Lord. Where they just have some fun, eventually get back to ship to pick up everybody. And of course, basically, then of course they have fun, oh crap. By the way, they're also looking inside of the TARDIS. Which, of course, Doctor's like, oh crap. Basically, thinking in the back of his head, it's Rose Tyler all over again. Except that he does not resolve this by kissing her. Oh no. We'll get back to that. So eventually, of course, the bomb is basically reversed to destroy the entire fleet. And then, of course, basically, they use this machine to put all the planets back in place. But they were, except for Earth. But the ship's destroyed. And then, of course, they figure a way to get everybody back. So then the Doctor uses the TARDIS, has sort of this force field thing to pull the Earth back into its orbit in the solar system. It's an amazing sequence. Everything is breaking whatever, like was before. Everybody's all celebrating, and of course everybody says all goodbye. Jack goes back to Torchwood and sees his place get destroyed. Sarah Jane goes back to whatever she was doing in her show. Mickey, of course, stays on Earth, just hangs out with basically Captain Jack for some reason. No, there's no relation between them. Martha goes off her own. She is not seen again to the two-parter End of Time. And that leaves Donna, who apparently her mind is nearly melting. So the Doctor, in order to save her, wipes her memories of him. And then basically takes her back home, explains the situation to her grandfather and her mother. Now, from what I can tell, watching the episode, remember watching it, they do not seem upset with him for doing this. Because Donna's grandfather probably felt as though it was the right thing to do. Donna's mom probably felt fine with it, per se. Because she probably has a little bit of respect for him because he did save her daughter's life by doing this. And then she reverts back to her personality that she had in Runaway Bride, and apparently if she sees him, that basically her memory come back. But don't worry, she will be back. And then the doctor, after saying goodbye to everybody, he leaves on his TARDIS to go into the next Doctor. The Christmas special. But there's no denying. Oh, there's one other thing. Rose Tyler returns to the alternate universe. And of course we have the Metacrisis Doctor too. Where Rose apparently was going to tell the Doctor she was in love with him. And all the regular Doctor said was that he says Rose Tyler. And then the Metacrisis Doctor revealed what exactly the Doctor was thinking. And then she kisses the Metacrisis Doctor and they walk off. And the Metacrisis Doctor, believe it or not, is never seen again. He's mentioned at the end of Matt Smith's run, despite the fact that he's not part of the Generation Cycle, but they kind of consider him for some reason. Though the Metacrisis Doctor does kind of return after this in a IDW Doctor Who comic where he grew a beard. No mention of Rose Tyler, though. Yeah, it was really weird. But, of course, that was the end of Series 4. I gotta say, for his 4th series, Rusty Davies hit it out of the park with this one. I mean, if you look at basically this one, the only episode I was not a particularly big fan of was probably Midnight. But this, oh, by the way, also Turn Left with basically resolving Saturday Adventure stuff. But this series was really good. I would say of the 3 series for David Tennant's Doctor, this is by far his best one because he had many excellent stories. Yes. So oh yeah, also Karen Gillan, who later played Apon in 12th Doctor, she does appear in that story too. That was written by James Moore, and I think this may have been his only time he wrote Doctor Who. Yeah, this was the only one he wrote. Because actually no, he mostly I think he was just mostly writing just Torchwood. Yes. And Helen Ryder, who is a Welsh writer, she's also somebody who wrote for Torchwood as well. I guess they brought these two of them because they're writing Torchwood. Why not? Keith Temple, I think is maybe the only one. Doctor is written by Stephen Greenhorn, who this was actually his return for the series. He wrote the Lazarus Experiment in that one. Yep. The Unicorn and the Wasp, that's written by Gareth Roberts, who was actually somebody he actually his first one he wrote was Shakespeare Cove. This actually was his second story he wrote. He would write 2 more stories after this. He would write The Lodger. I believe this was in series 5, and he wrote Closing Time. He wrote 2 more, and he also wrote Invasion of Bane, which is basically the hot episode of Sarah Jane Adventures. Basically, he was brought up to do this, and then do that one. Moffat basically got a chance to contribute this amazing season. But you can't deny that only one episode I wasn't a big fan of, but everything else this season was awesome. I loved it. It was just pure awesomeness with the season. It was just amazing. Just like I said, only one okay episode, but nothing bad about this one. What a way to go out for David Tennison. Though there is a series special to come after this one, yes. But yeah, that's pretty much it, particular review. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, notifications. Next up, Apothecary Diaries. Let's hope we continue to do episodes tonight. Okay, next video. Bye.